do you make of you can win Super Bowls in 2019 with just a great defense? What do you buy with Chicago and not buy?
I think those people that say that have their head in the sand. It was obviously possible when we did in Baltimore. We played fantastic defense, maybe the greatest defense of all time. We're smart on offense, managed the game from the quarterback position. I'd be the first to tell you that was what my job was. Tampa did it a couple years later with a very good defense. I don't know if I'd call it great, but very good. Seattle did it against the Denver Broncos. But outside of that, I don't think you're ever going to see it again. And I think the mistake everybody made on the Bears was calling it a great defense. They're very good, and they have a chance to be really, really good in the future years. But they by no means great. If they were great, Philly doesn't go down the field and score a touchdown when the Bears have a 5-point lead. It's that simple. People can talk about the kick. People can talk about the kick return, all that stuff, all they want. The bottom line is if the Bears played great defense, Philly wouldn't have gone down with a backup quarterback and scored a touchdown. So I'm with you, Colin. I don't think there'll be a team that is completely defensive-centric that wins a Super Bowl again. The rules aren't set up for it. I think the teams that are forward-thinking and the ones that we're going to see in the Super Bowl every year put more of an emphasis on offense, on aggressive quarterback play, on creativity. And I think that's bearing. I think the regular season will bear itself out in the postseason even more as we go forward with offenses having the upper hand.
All right. You know, we've gotten to a point with Dak is I think there's a formula and all the boxes checked. At home, running game, good defense, and Dak tends to play a little better on the final drive than the first drive. But I'm told you liked Dak this weekend.
I thought he was the second best quarterback in the playoffs this weekend.
Oh, boy.
I mean, Andrew Luck was phenomenal. Who else was better? I mean, Russell played well considering his circumstances, didn't have a lot to work with. They knew they weren't going to throw the ball against the Cowboys front seven with the pass rush. Who else played well at the quarterback position? Nick Foles didn't play very well until the last drive, so don't use Nick Foles on me. Threw 2 picks. One was a red zone interception. Phillip Rivers wasn't very good. Lamar Jackson was awful until the end. Deshaun Watson wasn't very good. So who played better than Dak besides Andrew Luck? And I don't disagree with you. We've kind of been like-minded on the Dak Prescott. I think you've been more sticking to a narrative of he's the most overrated player on their team. I think Dak's a winning quarterback in the NFL. I think, like his team, and I've said this before on this show, he is a low-ceiling, high-floor guy. But with this football team, with the talent that they have, with maybe the best runner in football as their tailback, they've been stubborn with their play calling in a good way. The addition of Amari Cooper, I think Dak Prescott's the right quarterback for this team. I think he played very well. He's played very well the last few weeks. But I also, in the same sense, can not disagree with you and say it's all been set up for him. This will be a different challenge this next week. But up to this point, Dak Prescott's been very good for the Cowboys.
I rely on you often, texting on this show, calling off the air about, evaluation of quarterbacks. And I said this earlier, is that many of the interception leaders in NFL history had the strongest arms, Brett Favre, because it's the burden of great gifts. Is that if God gives you a singing voice, you're going to be singing in the car, you're going to be singing in the shower. Wentz is remarkable. Foles is not. And the way I describe it is Foles is working. There's a symmetry between Foles and this staff right now that's better than Wentz in the symmetry with his staff. Because when my eyes tell me Wentz is way better than Foles, but Foles wins more. What is it?
So it's a big one to dive into, and I think both sides can be right. And I think what you are saying and the argument you've created is absolutely correct, that when you get a guy that plays within the system, that plays within the X's and O's, that recognizes his limitations, that adds a level of comfort to the play caller, the coaching staff. They know exactly what they're getting every week. And that has worked for the Eagles with Nick Foles the end of last year, obviously through the Super Bowl, and so far this year with Carson Wentz hurt. The problem looking at this long term, though, is that if you talk to great football people, they will say, yeah, but we want a guy that can play beyond the X's and O's and trust that the longer he plays the position, he will learn to also play the majority of the downs within the X's and O's. So what you see with Nick Foles, and it got him in trouble last night on the red zone interception, anytime he tries to play outside the X's and O's, it gets him in trouble. Carson Wentz plays outside of them too often, but also makes spectacular plays. So what you're looking for is that sweet spot, that balance of a guy that plays within the structure, plays a Bill Walshian, a Mike Holmgren type style of football where 85% of the time do it exactly my way. But then the 50% of the time I'm wrong, save my ass. And that's what Carson Wentz can do. And those are the conversations that Bill Walsh and Mike Holmgren had with Joe Montana and Steve Young and other great quarterbacks. It's do it exactly my way until I'm wrong, then save me. And that's why they're always going to be on the Carson Wentz bandwagon, not the Nick Foles, because he can't do that. And I think that's why both sides can be right here. They really can. But I guarantee you, unless they win the Super Bowl, that's when the discussion maybe really has to change. But unless the Eagles win the Super Bowl, this is Carson Wentz's team for the next 10 years.
And the Baltimore Ravens, and I agreed with them, made a decision in that game that we're not switching quarterbacks. What did they say, Trent Dilfer, by not switching quarterbacks during that game? What were they telling me?
Yeah, that was an organizational statement. I bet you the conversations that happened in prior weeks with Joe Flacco as well. Like, hey, Joe, no matter what happens, no matter how far we go, no matter what circumstances come up in a game besides an injury, Lamar Jackson's our quarterback. We're making an organizational decision to go into the future with this guy, and we need to ride this as long as we can. And it may hurt us at some point. And you know what it did? It hurt him in the first half against the Chargers. But they were willing to take that chance so that the organization, and mainly the 53 guys in the locker room, understand that this is Lamar's team. This is going to be Lamar's team for a long time. And today is part of the journey of trying to get him to be a great player. I think the mistake that the Ravens have made in this whole process, one, is not honoring the greatest quarterback in the history of the Baltimore Ravens, is Joe Flacco, a little bit more publicly. I don't like that they haven't celebrated his career there a little bit more. And being an ex-Raven, being an ex-quarterback for the Ravens, all of us Ravens understand what Joe Flacco has done for that organization. He's been fantastic. I think they should have honored him a little bit more. And the other thing is, I think they're making a mistake. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with a Lamar Jackson type player. I think you can be really good. I think you win 10 games a year. I think you can be in the conversation, but I'll be shocked if Lamar Jackson ever wins a Super Bowl.
By the way, the Rams got rested. The Patriots had a week off. Kansas City did. Before I let you go, you have played in playoffs, not rested and rested. The bye week is an interesting thing. Players love it, but if I was a hot team, I'm not. Now, the Rams, I think, needed a bye. You know, Patriots maybe didn't. Is there any advantage to you getting the extra week, or sometimes is it a detriment?
I think it's both. Again, I know that's a bad radio TV answer, but I think both can be the answer. Some teams need it. I agree with you. The Rams really needed it. Some teams don't all the time. I think, though, if you're just going to make a blanket statement, at the end of the year, your body hurts. You are fatigued physically, you are fatigued mentally, and sometimes you need to press the reset button no matter how hot you are, and that's where the bye is really, really helpful. If the coach handles it the right way, where you don't lose your edge, because you can't lose your competitive edge, but you can get rest, it's amazing. Remember, everybody, this is hard. It's a hard sport. Your body hurts. Your body writes checks during the course of the season. Just a few days of treatment, a few days of rest does an amazing thing to your body, your soul, your mind. And I think that's why the bye teams typically have an advantage.
Good stuff. Trent Dilfer, decade and a half in this league, relying on regularly. Super Bowl champ. Good talking to you, bud.
See you, buddy. All
right, before the end of the hour, I will lay out the playoff scenario and who I like. Coming off a 4-0 week, it's just like magic up here. I mean, seriously.
It was a strong week for you, Colin.
It was.
Even though you said you weren't very convicted about all of them, but you still put your name out there by your picks.
There is one game I love this weekend. Joy Taylor with the news.